All right, hello everyone, and thanks for watching. We are going to start this Roman Ascension campaign in Rome 2 Total War. Before we dive into the campaign, I want to use this screen that we've been sitting on for a few episodes now to talk about what I actually want to do with this series. If you are looking for a bit of an introduction, or you're watching this and you have no idea what's happening, go back and watch the previous video in this series. I give a bit more of a primer on why I'm doing this, what I'm doing. But now we're going to talk about details of the actual campaign for a second before I dive in. When you play these games, they tend to be limited to the region of the world in which their story is told. And in this case, Rome 2 Total War is told in the region you see before you. This is the only, no matter which faction you play as, this is the only area of the world that you can conquer in this game. So if you're new to this, or if you're just watching and you're curious and you're like, well, can you go out and conquer the whole world as the Roman Empire? No, you can't. You can really conquer just the areas that the original real Roman Empire really had, and maybe a little bit more. And that's what we're going to try and do. So we're going to start in this general area, of course, because that's where Rome is, and expand out from there over the course of several episodes. And it'll be fun, so I hope you stay with me, because I'm doing it for fun regardless. I've done a couple of these campaigns. I even did an Athenian campaign once where I started behind the coin somewhere here and expanded out and conquered the map, because why not? So Greek-controlled Britain, imagine that. It happened. And that's the fun of this game, is the alternate versions of history and the different ways that things can play out each time. So without further ado, we're going to start a new grand campaign here. There will be a bit of a load time in a moment, so I apologize for that. If you're new to Total War, look at how many factions you can play as. I'm just going to show this off for a second. I mean, you can play as Carthage. You can play as the Successor Kingdoms, which is a mix of Middle Eastern. You've got Egypt, but also Macedon, which is in the Greek area, for those of you who don't know. There's the actual Greek states as well. Eastern empires, which includes Parthia, Armenia, and then you've got the Gallic tribes, Britannic tribes, Germanic tribes, Balkan tribes. It's really cool. We, of course, will play as Rome, and there's three houses. We're going to play as the House of Julia, the House of Julius Caesar, if you will. They have, if you can see, as you can see here, they have some abilities as an empire-building faction that some of the other houses might not have as much. They can march a little bit better, they can recruit a little bit better, they can fight barbarians a little bit better, which will come in handy all up in here. And then they can Romanize better too, so as we conquer, it's easier for us to Romanize an area and convert it. So that's where we're going. We are playing on easy. If you would like my justification for that, watch the last video. We will start the campaign now. Good quote. There's always good quotes on the loading screens, or usually. Sometimes it's just gameplay tips. This will take a moment. New campaigns usually take a second to get started, so I apologize for the wait. I don't know who that is, but he looks angry. He looks like he's making a point. Quite possibly instituting a new world order. Not sure.
You are at war with the Etruscan League. March north and capture their territories. This will allow you to consolidate Italia and ensure the safety of Rome. You must wage war if you hope to extend your dominion. Syracuse and Carthage own territory in Magna Graecia, so conflict with them is inevitable if you wish to expand across the Mediterranean. Otherwise, they may prove useful allies against Etruria or the Gaulish tribes to the north. Come what may, Rome will triumph.
All right, so that's our opening narration, give you a bit of bearings on our immediate objectives, which I'll go back through in a minute. This first video, I'm not going to dive into anything. I'm assuming that there's a few people watching who might not even be gamers, and so they're like, oh my god, what is happening? I don't expect you guys to know what all these little symbols on the screen mean, but there's a few things that I can point out that can make this a lot more enjoyable, and I will try to do that with this first video. So you can kind of keep track anytime you tune in and see how the campaign's going, whether you watch the whole thing or just watch for the big battles, like if you want to see me conquer Carthage or whatever that may be. You can watch and understand what's happening. So we have been issued a mission by the Senate. We're going to get a little bit of money if we can completely control 2 provinces. And it doesn't look like there's a deadline, so they just want us to do this by some point. So as I said, we have a As I said in the opening, we have control over, if you look at the mini-map here, we control the bottom of the boot of Italy. This is the year 272 BC. It's summer. Every time I hit this end turn button here, it's a bit like a board game, actually, this map that I'm on right now. The actual battles will look quite cinematic and will resemble things you can see in a movie. It's pretty cool. But the movements of armies and the building of cities and such happens on this map, and it's turn-based. So when I hit the end turn button, we will advance 1 year and 1 season, usually. It's a bit of an interesting turn system. So when I hit this, it'll be fall 271 BC next turn. Just to show you what's going on, here's the city of Rome in its early beginnings. I am going to go ahead and expand it because I have the opportunity to do that. So you see some walls come down and then come right back up a little bit bigger. There they are. And I'm also going to expand Rome into a level 2 civil colonia, which Rome is the heart of my empire. I want to go ahead and make it a bigger city. So that's what I'm doing. It's going to help the area grow faster. It'll also generate more wealth for me as well, just by being a bigger city. Down here we also have the city of Neapolis. This is the province of Italia. So we have Roma, Neapolis, and then up here we have Velathri and Armenium. And as you can see from this chimera, I don't know how I feel about the fact that I immediately recognized that was a chimera. Please don't judge me. This is controlled by the Etruscan League. So we need to conquer both of these, and that'll be our first objective. But we also have another province down here called Magna Graecia. And we have 2 cities we control. Brundisium here, which is the capital, and then Cosentia, which is here. And then there are 2 more cities in Magna Graecia, and that's basically the island of Syracuse, which has the city of Syracuse, depending on how you want to read that, and Lilybaeum, which is over here, controlled by Carthage. Carthage is, of course, right here. We haven't actually encountered the city of Carthage yet, but that's where they are. And just because it's visible in our map area, well, let's look around for a bit. We can see the coast of Greece. Apollonia is controlled by the Epirus peoples. It looks like Sparta, is controlled by the Spartans. And Athens is over here. So there's some geographical bearings for you. Can't get too close to Athens right now because it's in the fog. I don't have any units or men nearby to take a peek at Athens. This area over here is called Corsica et Sardinia. So we have the capital city of Corrales, just 2 cities in this little island province, and Eulalia up here. Corrales is controlled, as you can see, by Carthage, and Eulalia is controlled by the Etruscan League, our mortal enemies for the moment. So objective number 1 is to take care of the Etruscans. Now, on the map, you might have noticed, oh wait, before I talk about that, let's see what we can do here. I'm going to expand Cosentia because Brundisium already has some good stuff going on. And let's give them some farming down because food is generally a good thing for an empire to have. Alright, we also have a fleet, very small fleet, but a fleet nonetheless. And I'm going to go ahead and move it into port at Neapolis, because that will help with public order a bit and also just provide some basic protection if the Etruscan League gets frisky and tries to sail to Neapolis. We have this army down here as well, near Cosentia, and they are having, if you look at that -5 there, if you look at Cosentia's stats when I point to it, you can see that on the far right there's a -5. That's public order. Right now the public order is 0, but next turn it'll be -5. Unless I fix that by giving them an army. See, now it's not going to drop as bad. People like having an army around, so that's what I'm doing. Let's see here. This is Postumia Scapula. She is our first spy and our only spy. Let's see if we can recruit any other agents yet. No, we can't. Of course not. Let's go ahead and move her up here and see what she can see. There she goes. All right, so there's that army we saw in the introduction. Looks like Velathri has wine as a resource. Yes, they do, right there. We'll learn about that a little bit later. So this is our main army, and also our main general, Lucius Julius Libo, I think his name is. Yes, there he is. I'm going to go ahead and expand this army because it starts a little bit bare bones whenever you first start this game. There are no spearmen in the army right now, but next turn there will be. I'm also going to give them one more skirmisher, and I'll explain all those units when we actually get into a fight, I promise. But we're just going to make this army a bit more formidable. Anything that tries to approach the Rome area while this army is nearby will have a pretty difficult time. Let's see, what else can we work on in this first episode? We've got about 4 minutes before I want to cut to the actual battle. So a few more things that Rome 2 deals with, just to give you an overall view before I wrap this one. So you're dealing with military matters. You're also dealing, so you're going out and you're conquering, you're doing battles, and that'll be a lot of the fun of watching this, as you actually get to see very cinematic battles as I forge the Roman Empire here. Be cool. But you also have the ability to develop cities and build cities, as you've already seen a little bit. At the same time, there's also research. So we can get better at both of those things. We can get better at military, and we can get better at our city building as we go along. I'm going to go ahead and institute some supply reforms. It'll take 2 turns to do, but it'll start our ability to research military tech and really become the powerhouse that the Roman Empire was back in the day. We're going to start humbly, as you will see in our first battle. What else? Oh, and one thing I always like to do in the first turn is get rid of this guy. I'll show you why real quick. This is the Senate. This is another thing we're going to keep an eye on. The Senate, we currently control only this much of it, 23% of it. Not that much. The other houses control 35% of it, more than any of the 3 named houses. And this guy, as you can see, he's a statesman. Statesmen are not completely useless, but they're not generals, they're not admirals. They don't have an assigned role other than just to be in Rome and be a statesman and be generating influence for their faction. Since this guy is not really doing anything for Rome right now, I didn't get him first try. I'm going to have to try again. There we go. So that might have cost me a little bit. And then we're going to secure promotion for our guy as well. Notice we're up to 33% now. Big change, which gives us better research, better public order, better taxes, better morale. It's just a good thing to have control of more of this. You want to have kind of a balance of power with the other 3 houses, the other 2 houses rather, or the other 3 if these guys come back. Because if there's not a balance, then there's a risk of civil war. Yep, this game gets deep. But that's the politics aspect. So you've got the military aspect, the city building aspect, politics, and research going on. And there's some other micromanaging things as well that make it an interesting strategy piece. I'm going to go ahead and end the turn. And you'll get a glimpse of all that's going on. There are a number of factions in the world. We won't confront all of them because some of them will eliminate each other. Some of these guys are starting out with literally just one little city somewhere, and they'll get wiped out pretty quickly. All right. As usual, that army that was right there saw what I was doing. They saw me building up, and they hightailed it. The last couple of times I've tried this, they've ended up right back here. Without fail, there they are. I just wish that I had gotten that senator first try like I did the last couple of times I gave this video a shot, including in the prototype. So with my spy here, we're going to do something kind of interesting, or really interesting. When you look at it, we're going to sabotage their military. We're going to wreck the baggage train, which means if it works, they will not be able to move, and it will be easier for me to take them out next turn. Uh-oh. Off to a bad start. She's been wounded in action, so she's not dead, but that didn't work. What a shame. Rome's first step as a conquering empire, and the agent gets wounded in action. That's just... I'm just going to stop this series right now. Why should we keep going? So as you can see, nothing's really changed around us. We are going to take this army now that it's recruited some extra units, and we're going to attack the city of Velathri.
Let them cower before Rome! Lay siege to the settlement!
So as you can see, we have a very good chance of winning and a very, very low chance of losing. We are actually going to fight every battle. In this series, FYI, I haven't mentioned this part yet. For those of you who are familiar with Total War, you do have the option of auto-resolving a battle, especially in instances like this where you know you're going to win and there's not really a point to fighting from a certain perspective. You can auto-resolve. But for the sake of immersion and for the sake of actually seeing everything take place, we're going to fight every battle. And in the next video, Rome is going to take over the Etruscan city of Velathri. I hope you'll join me. See you next time.